Now, Nikke is this game that comes from the same company that did Stellar Blade. It's a Korean game that probably horrifies the likes of Melanie Mac. And I finished it. You know, I liked it. I picked it up and I finished it. I got all the way till the end of the story. I collected most of the characters that I liked, did some really powerful teams, played some PvP. It was fun. And I didn't spend almost any money with it. Like, I think I spent like $50 just because I felt that the game gave me enough entertainment. And that was that. So I haven't picked it up in a while. And suddenly I hear, V, did you hear about the new Nikke they added, which has cellulitis? And I'm like, goodness gracious. A Nikke that has cellulitis? Like, this is fantasy. In fantasy, cellulitis doesn't exist because fantasy is unattainable, you know? Like, fantasy is like talking about the legends of Olympus. Artemis doesn't have cellulitis. Hera doesn't have cellulitis. Like, they all have perfect bodies and big tits. What are you talking about? Why would they put cellulitis in the video game called Nikke Goddess of Victory? Have they got brain damage from the Americans? Like, have they went into the United States and hired some people there to work at Shift Up? Like, what is going on? Why would it have cellulitis? And then I see the design. And apparently, yeah, like, this is a plus-size Nikke. And I think her backstory is that she's a chef. She likes to cook. And she likes to eat a lot of sweets. So she's got a little bit of pudge. Right? It's on the plus size. And if you zoom into her belly, yeah, no, there's cellulitis there. So the artist actually added cellulitis on the character. And you know what's hilarious? People actually like it. Like, she's actually now one of the most liked Nikkes out of the bunch. And this is like mind-blowing for two different reasons. Number one, this is something that I was struggling to tell women in my life when I was doing university and even back at high school. Because you had women that had a little bit of pudge and they were freaking out about it. Like, they would actually have like these extreme diets, these horrible periods of self-inflicted starvation and fasting in order to get rid of the pudge. And I was telling them, dude, like, men actually like a little bit of pudge. Like, it's fine, you know, for us it's like a third titty. Now, don't overdo it. Don't become like the Americans, but like, still, you know, a little bit of extra pudge is not something that is going to make any man find you unattractive. And they wouldn't believe me. Like, they would still like self-convince themselves that they need to starve. And like, I actually knew a couple of ladies that were gorgeous to look at. And then they went through all of these extreme diets and they became walking skeletons. And literally no one liked them after that. And I generally like don't understand where this mindset is coming from, why they were thinking like that, like why did they convince themselves to do that. But the reality is that a little bit of pudge is perfectly acceptable. And with the game Nikke, you can actually see that men who can have like to choose between different fictional characters that don't have pudge, for some reason they also go for the belly. The second interesting thing is the absolute cope from the Western developers. Like, I remember the guy who was in charge of League of Legends at the time at the Riot Company. He went on in an interview and he said he just doesn't want to make money anymore. Like, after looking at the selling charts and noticing that their primary revenue comes from skins from female characters that are hot, you know, skins like Miss Fortune, like Ari, he decided, yeah, we're not going to do hourglass figures anymore. We're going to hop on this American bandwagon trend where female characters have to also look ugly, they have to look grotesque, because this is what we want people to see. We want to normalize grotesqueness. And so, like, the next skins that came from League of Legends were reflective of that, right? Like, you had women that had different body shapes, and obviously didn't sell as much. But I got like the idea that in order to create a beautiful female character, you need the hourglass figure was the interesting thing. And apparently it's not, right? Like, you can still have beautiful female characters that are drawn differently, that have like different sizes and proportions. But there is like certain things that if you go overboard, people don't find it attractive. And the interesting thing is that the Americans know what it is because they consistently give you the unattractiveness. Like, they go out of their way in order to make female characters that look like men with wigs. Like strong jawlines, broad shoulders, no breast, like everything that makes a woman feminine, they go out of their way in order to remove it and create the uncanny valley, and then they try to charge you money for that. Then they try to ask you like, hey, this is the skin we made for this character that's unappealing. Don't you want to spend like $20 to buy it? And everyone goes like, fuck no. Why would I want to buy that? You know, these characters that the Americans are making, they lack grace, they lack heroism, they lack any sort of appeal, they lack beauty, and they lack sensuality. And so no one wants to go adventuring with these characters. Like, people don't even want to, like, if this character was real, I wouldn't even want to go out to hang out with her. You know, like, I have no interest in that. It's just like the look is so off-putting, right? And like, I wouldn't even want to go have a beer with her. I wouldn't want her as a friend. I wouldn't want to go adventuring with her. I certainly wouldn't want her in my romantic relationships. And meanwhile, you know, the Koreans and the Asians have realized that there is a hole in the market. Like, there is a desire for people to spend money on products that the Western companies don't want to offer people because of ideology. And they're filling the market. And they're absolutely crushing it. They're dominating it with gacha games. Which, again, like, what is a gacha game? It's a game that's designed to work on a phone. So it's got, like, very limited resources. It's got, like, very limited things that it can do. And the only thing that it can compensate with is an amazing story, because that's free, right? Like, hiring a competent writer is not difficult, especially in the age of woke ideology in the West. There's no competition. Like, no one in the West can write good stories anymore. So you hire a good writer, you have like a little bit of slice of life that tries to romanticize about relationships and stuff, and then you also have attractive characters. So like, people look at the attractive characters, they get interested in them, they play the game, they get exposed to the amazing story, and that's pretty much how South Korea is now selling games that in any other condition shouldn't actually make money. It's mind-blowing, right? And the interesting thing is that gacha games have a bad reputation because they're predatory, right? Like, EA Games used to make games that would force you to keep spending money and stuff. And I'm looking at the new gacha games that are coming from Asia, whether it's like from China or from South Korea or from Japan, and they don't have that predatory transactions anymore. Like, the way Nikke actually functions, and I talked with a lot of people, and it's not just the only one. Nikke is the only one that I played. But, like, there's many others. There's Snowbreak, there's Zenless Zone Zero, like, there's other games that other people played. And what they told me is that they usually now, like, give you stuff for free to make you feel bad that you haven't spent any money, right? Because, like, you're playing a Western game that costs $120, and you're barely getting any entertainment. And then you're playing this game for like 3 or 4 months, and you're getting a lot of shit out of it. And a lot of people just feel bad. They're like, okay, so the devs put a lot of work. I'm going to throw them like $60. And that's the category that I fell in. And apparently, like, that's the new mentality of doing business. That's the Asian way of doing business. China does it with Marvel Heroes, right? Like, you go on Steam, it's free to play, and you can play just fine. But a lot of people, like, realize, okay, well, I had, like, a lot of entertainment out of it. I put in a lot of hours. It offered me a lot of entertainment. I'll throw some money their way, buy some skins. And apparently, like, that's a new business model that is so foreign and alien than the woke corporations in the West that allegedly are for social justice and the marginalized, but they overcharge. Like, and they use all these predatory transactions. Well, you know, the game isn't free to play, but if you want to play it 4 days earlier than everyone else, you need to cough up $120. If you want to buy some skins, you need to cough up like 40 or more in microtransactions, even though like you should have everything in the game because you spend like $120 for it. And so you can definitely see like the difference in mindset of game design between the two different schools of thought. Hopefully the West is going to catch up and they're going to start realizing that the idea of like hiring tens of thousands of developers in order to make a product that's extremely expensive and mid isn't sustainable, and maybe they will try some different business practices in order to normalize the market for the West as well. Let me know what you guys think, and in the meantime, enjoy the cellulitis. Take care.